Hello and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. We talk everything animation here, including Voltron Legendary Defender, which we'll be getting into right now. I'm Dylan Hysen, and today I'm joined by Hayley Nabuurs.
Hello.
Justin Cummings.
Hello.
And Alex Bonilla.
Hola.
Today we are getting into our last Voltron Legendary Defender Season 6 podcast, talking the finale, Episode 7, Defender of All Universes. We've been covering Season 6 here on the Overly Animated Podcast. Check out our previous episode recaps at overlyanimated.com. Search for Voltron Overly Animated on iTunes. Subscribe there. Subscribe on YouTube if you're listening to not miss future Voltron coverage. But yes, it's finally time to get into the Voltron season finale. We'll be getting into every episode from Season 6, so spoilers for this entire season. To open the podcast, you heard Crazy Words Mustache by The Shakeups, a power pop music collective whose new album Legendary Defenders is out now. Check out theshakeups.net for more on them, and we'll hear more of that song at the end of the podcast. Yep, spoilers for Defender of All Universes, all previous Voltron episodes. Let's get into things. Hayley, what are your reactions to the big season finale?
I'm feeling so conflicted, and I've been trying to. It's never good, no, because part of me feels like weirdly pleased at the end of this episode. Like it felt like a nice, like, oh, it's the finale. Like here we go to a next stage. But then also half of me is like, Latour can't leave now. Like it didn't fulfill what I felt the story was heading to, where we were going to have something really negative happen to the Paladins, like have it be definitely a definitive loss for them. But this was a loss in terms of losing the Castle of Lions, which I'm so happy I predicted. So woohoo. But they didn't they're not like destroyed and have to rebuild themselves with Latour off having won the fight. So it's hard because I don't know why I felt so happy at the end, but then I was like, no, wait, I was upset 5 minutes ago that all this happened. So yeah, it was tricky. I don't really know how I feel about this one. Very conflicted on it.
Very conflicted. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a happy ending, so I think that's why
it
you're
was
happy.
Super happy.
Yeah.
But it was weird because I feel like normally watching this, I'd feel like a glimmer of happy and then be like cynical about it. But I don't know why, but it was so happy at the end. I was so happy they were all together and alive and in one piece. But then also, I was upset about stuff that happened kind of in the middle of the episode as well.
Yeah.
So,
okay,
yeah.
We'll get into that. Well, all our space children are alive and we're happy, and yay. They're all great. So, a lot to be happy about. What definitely wasn't the Act 2 hero loss that we had talked about. Yeah.
No, I was expecting a lot more doom and gloom.
Yeah. That's good, I guess.
Yeah.
We'll get into it. Justin, what did you think of this finale?
I think that everything I've predicted over the last 2 seasons was correct, Dylan, and I enjoy coming on these podcasts to tell you how right I was.
Wait, what did you predict? Clone Shiro and Dark Voltron? Because we all predicted that.
Dark Voltron, I was the first person on this podcast to coin the term Dark Voltron, first off. Second, everything that happened this season while I have been off and, not recording because I was at a lavender festival, all of the Latour being bad stuff, all of it. Like, Hayley and I were screaming at you, Latour's evil, and you were like,
it's turning evil.
Anything bad.
It's coming.
So, yes, okay, you guys were right about Latour being evil, yeah.
I felt like I really liked this episode. I think my least favorite part was Shiro getting his hair recolored because I felt like I was in a Disney movie.
I loved it.
I wanted to sing the song from Tangled.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good Tangled at the end, yeah.
But all in all, I liked it because at first I was like, okay, this show has no direction now. We don't have any villains left. Like, what's, Zarkon's gone, Latour's gone, and then I realized they're setting up for Hagar or Nerva to be the big final villain. And with that, I think as our end game, I like where we're at now, and I think that we're at a really good spot of going back to Earth, because we haven't been to Earth in a long time. So I really like how this episode ended. I understand the conflicted feeling, but I really like where we're at.
Nice, yeah. Nerva is the season season 7 villain is a very exciting prospect for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Justin, I have more questions about your takes on Shiro's white hair, but we'll save those for later. Alex, what'd you think of the season finale?
Well, I found Shiro's white hair to be very aesthetically pleasing, so I'm all for that going forward.
Yeah.
Yes. No, I found this finale to be a very fun episode to watch. I think I know I'm probably in the minority here, but I think that the fight sequence between the anti-Voltron and regular Voltron in this episode is better than the Keith Shiro fight from 2 episodes ago. Like I found this one a lot more interesting to watch, and also just seeing Latour go insane. For his character, it's we'll talk about what that means for him. But it was just fun to watch him go insane, see all the faces they give him, and all the faces they give to all the people, the other members of Voltron who are fighting as well. So that all the fighting stuff was just a very satisfying finale, more so than the sprawling space battles that have been finales in the past. I think if it had ended with them just leaving the quintessence field, leaving Latour there, I think the hype would have lasted. Well, I get the whole ending scene of having to close the rift and bringing back Shiro. It kind of felt more like going through the motions, like that finale thing, as opposed to the fight itself. But all in all, I think this is a very good finale episode, and probably probably a better episode to me than the first big finale that we had.
Okay. Yeah. Good stuff. I love the first half of this episode, which is the robot fight, giant robots fighting. I think that was wonderful. It's not better than the episode 5 fight, but it's still really great. Especially when they're in, the quintessence field, when they shift settings into the quintessence field. It's gorgeous. It's incredible. It's a great action sequence. But then the second half of the episode really loses the steam. The Castle of Lions, sacrificing that, I don't think it really worked, cause we don't think we care that much about the Castle of Lions, and it seems like a contrived problem, there's a tear in the fabric of space and time, we gotta close that. And then the most frustrating part of the season happens, which is seance. Allure performs a seance to put Shiro back inside the clone body from the Black Lion. And I didn't mean it last podcast. I didn't mean it. I didn't want it to happen. And it's very stupid. And it potentially loses a lot of the consequences of the season. It makes you think, what was the purpose of Shiro going missing at all if he's just back with, what's the point? What's the point of any of this? And that's not even the problem. It's just it felt stupid, I think, kind of. It was well executed. It was a gorgeous scene. But I just don't like the concept of that. And that was a letdown. In terms of how Latour was handled, give or take, I think him inside the Negatron or Dark Voltron was really well done, but I'm upset there wasn't more to his character. I hope he's still alive and will come back on the show at some point, although he's definitely not going to be a main force anymore. And then the ending of Going to Earth, whatever. It's we could do exciting things there, but, this isn't when I look back at this season at the end of this 26 episode arc, I'm definitely not going to think of this finale as one of the high points, which I think is a little bit disappointing. I think season finales should be these big high points. In this season, it was more of episodes 2, 4, 5, 6, which I feel like are the ones that are going to stand out looking back. But regardless, we had this Voltron versus Dark Voltron fight, which I think is the biggest thing to get into, because this is our action high point of the season. I mean, the series at its core is giant robots fighting things. So I think every season is obligated to end on Voltron doing something, and here it was fighting Dark Voltron, which is awesome. And we first had them fighting in space, and then Allura pulls out a flaming sword for some reason and is able to cut her way into the quintessence field, and then they go into the quintessence field, and then I just think it's so incredible in there. Alex, you love this fight. What are some highlights for you?
Well, I think the space section starts off pretty good with Voltron being shown to be very vulnerable due to Latour being able to jump in and out. I like the whole sequence where Voltron decides to try hiding inside that hollow asteroid, and they lure or Negatron. I don't what are we calling it? Anti-Voltron, I'm gonna use that. But he lures them in, and then Voltron pops out from behind and laser beams him before Anti-Voltron shoots out from behind. that little sequence was very interesting. And then once we get into the quintessence field, like them just answering blow for blow, and like you have the lines following them like they're airplanes, just like going around in little circles. Like it was just very visually mesmerizing to just see them exchange blow for blow. And also like watching the actual all the paladins, like you can actually feel them getting more and more aggressive, and so like it makes sense when Allura is like, wait, hold on, what's going on here? Like it makes sense due to the tone of the battle getting more and more aggressive as it's going on. So I think both sides of it, when they're in space and Voltron is losing, and then when they move to the quintessence field, it keeps the momentum going throughout that entire fight. So and down to the very end where Latour is just fighting through the beam of quintessence and just like shouting it all at full lung capacity, like down to the very end, it was a very entertaining fight.
Yeah, a lot of good parts to it. Justin, what do you think of this?
I love mech stuff. I love giant robots fighting other giant robots. Like it was very nice. It made me very happy.
Yeah,
that's it.
Was anyone's reaction? Giant robots shouldn't fight, like Steven in that one Steven Universe episode. That was me during this episode. No, I was loving it. Haley, what did you think?
This is the only reason we have giant robots in this show.
It is, yeah.
I liked it because I find normally the big space opera battle sequences, I don't feel very invested in them, but I think this, because it was even though they're giant and comprised of a couple of different people, it felt more intimate than a lot of the other space fights tend to be, and kind of like from episode 5 with Shiro and Keith, it harkened back to that in a way. And again, I think the setting was great. It was gorgeous, and it was really good. I was really impressed. It didn't feel like two giant space robots fighting to me. Like you got some heart from it and actually understood the characters rather than just being two big robots beating each other up. Like it felt like there were real stakes in the fight. So yeah, I was pretty happy with it.
I definitely agree with Hayley that, like, in comparison to previous battles, it's Voltron first. They begin as all separate ships, and they're fighting like 3 giant Galran ships, and they're all going off in their different directions before they become Voltron at the end of the fight. And there's still all the other massive ships. But like here, it's very focused. And so it's much easier to follow the fight and much easier to give focus to the characters during the fight as opposed to just giving focus to the action. When the show does that, I end up getting bored if they stretch the fight out for too long. But here, because it's only these two robots, they give a chance to let the characters still have some dialogue and stuff to work out during the fight. And that's what makes the fights interesting, adding that extra emotional impact. Similar to the Keith Shiro fight from a couple episodes ago. It's action, but it's also adding the whole emotional stuff within the fight.
Yeah, we talked about that during the Keith Shiro fight discussion, that the show's a lot more successful with its action sequences if it is able to focus in on specific characters like this. And I do think that's a good point on how they're able to check in with everyone. And, it's just Latour on the other side. We check in with him several times, and it's a lot more personal of a fight. I think this might be the best Voltron in terms of Voltron the robot fight sequence in the show.
For sure. For me, for sure. Far and away. Like, it's just so much. I feel like I really understood Voltron as an entity made up of all these different people, kind of. Like, it feels like normally, I don't know why, but I feel normally like it's more of a tool, kind of. But this was like, this is them working together as a team to fight someone. And I think it was really super effective. It was a good combination of a really intimate fight, but also all the big dramatic space drama that we expect from the show as well.
Yeah. I think it was great. And just visually, when they're inside the quintessence field, there's so many interesting things about that. It just looks so gorgeous. It's the end of the season really stepped up the game animation wise, I think, in a few of these fight scenes. Latour, so we end up leaving Latour in the quintessence field. Anyone want to give initial takes? Latour dead or alive?
I've got alive.
Haley.
I feel like he's alive. I don't know. I think it might just be because I feel like he made this switch really suddenly, kind of, and died really suddenly. So maybe I'm just hoping he'll come back to do something more. And also we know Hagar is capable of bringing people back from the dead, as we saw with Shiro. So maybe she does something. Since he denied her as his mom before, maybe she'll like bring him back, and then he'll have to like her.
What a clone Latour?
Yeah, right, a clone Latour. She's definitely shown she's capable of that, and he's in the quintessence field. So what does it mean when you die in the quintessence field? Like, it's
do you die in real
energy.
life if you die in the quintessence field?
Right? Because they were saying like they felt so alive and had so much energy.
It keeps you at full power. So
right? And Shiro was in the quintessence field through the Black Lion, kind of, maybe, sort of. So, right? Yeah. So I think we're not going to see him for a while, but I don't think he's gone forever. I think he's going to come back in one way or another, you know? Just because he died in a weird space.
Yeah. Justin, what do you think?
I'm going to ride off that and say specifically, his consciousness will now be in the anti-Voltron. And so when inevitably Hagar ends up piloting that by the end of the show, she has to deal with Latour being in there.
Except it died also in the quintessence field, right?
Well, like activated or whatever. It was still intact physically.
But it was there.
And the thing is, if Onerva manages to make it to the quintessence field, if she finds both Latour and the anti-Voltron, is there a chance she would take the anti-Voltron and leave Latour there?
I think she'd bring him back if she thought she could convince him to like her and join her side, you know?
Yeah, I think based on that scene in episode 5, Onerva still wants her son to like be a part of her life. I think that she would take him despite his calling her an abomination and going super evil. I think she would take him back. Yeah, the two ways to get Latour back are he either escapes on his own because, you know, he can jump from reality to quintessence field. So, you know, if he just is able to power up again, he could do it. Or Onerva does have access to the quintessence field. At least that's been implied by the show this season. So, she could come get him. I think Voltron, Justin's prediction of, Onerva eventually piloting the anti-Voltron it's a good call. Although, I don't know. Maybe this was all we're going to see of it. I mean, this was a big climactic fight.
Also another thing, like in earlier seasons, what Hagar would do was like infuse these giant robot beasts with power and just let them do their own thing. So another thing is like she could power the Voltron from afar, sort of thing.
Yeah, that'd be classic Hagar move. Would be enabling the beast, whatever they called it. Yeah,
Robeast.
Robeast. Yeah, that hasn't been a thing in a while.
But now it's a Robo Anti-Voltron.
Anti-Ro beast. I don't know. Yeah. She could do that. So a lot of interesting possibilities there. I definitely don't want Latour to be dead. We'll talk more about, his character arc this season later. In this episode, he says, now we will see how Alfor's legacy stands against the new Altean defender. So one, he's comparing himself to Alfor in terms of building a Voltron, which I think makes sense. Two, pretty screwed up that he sees himself as the new Altean defender when he massacred thousands of Alteans.
And then like that moment where he's like, I'm going to destroy all my enemies, including all the Galra. And then the generals are just like, wait, what did he say?
Yeah, that goes along with
that moment was very like, what the?
Yeah, it goes along with his motivations there that he talked to, or at least his perspective that he talked about that episode, where he says that, like, he sees himself as an Altean. He says, all realities will fall to the new Altean empire. So, like, he views himself as the new Altean king, despite, you know, his horrible actions with the Alteans. I think it makes sense with the perspective they were trying to make him eschew with, I saved the Alteans. They wouldn't be alive if not for me. So, that's where we went with him, I guess. I'll get more into that later, I think. But I found those lines particularly notable. And the way we defeat Latour is we just shoot quintessence at him. Allura says she transferred excess power from Voltron. Yeah. Give him all the power he wants. Very thematic, I guess.
Yeah, and similar to end of season 2, where like I think they overpower Hagar with pure quintessence as well, and she's not able to handle it. So I guess it's a similar concept.
I don't remember that. No, it's been a while. Yeah, I mean that makes sense. I guess that this robot would short out with too much power in it. But yeah, it wasn't super well explained, but I do think it thematically works, and it was a nice emotional arc with Allura being the one to do that. And they leave him in the quintessence field. Then we deal with these multiple rifts in the fabric of space and time, and we have to overload the teledove to close these rifts, which involves sacrificing the Castle of Lions. No, not the Castle of Lions. Who's very sad?
Coran.
Coran's sad. Goodbye, old friend.
Yeah, we had
this very sad line.
We had this whole thing with the past few episodes with his grandfather. We brought that in, and he's like, "My grandfather's
pop.
line." Yeah, pop or whatever. That they brought that into the mix, so that's why he's upset. Yeah, Justin, what's your eulogy for the Castle of Lions?
Goodbye, old friend. You carried us gracefully like a double-decker space bus.
That's it? That's all it did? It transported them? No emotional connection?
I mean, I always thought we would get a really great Clance kiss inside of you, and now we won't.
Yeah, that's more of my reaction. Yeah.
Yeah, rip to that time they were in a hot tub together or whatever, or the pool.
All the great moments, yeah. But no, it's not completely gone. It's a diamond now.
Okay, am I the only one who's suspect that that's actually the castle?
Okay,
no, I think that's the castle.
That'd be fun if it was like secretly Latour got one last thing out there. Yeah.
Well, see, I think like it might be a remnant of the hole they closed. So like if someone were to crush that diamond, what if that just opened the hole automatically, sort of thing?
Ooh, they crush the diamond, a hole opens, and Slav pops out. Yes.
All right. I was thinking more Latour pops out and kills
Slav.
Whoever opened it.
That's my biggest complaint.
Whoever controls all 6 diamonds can control the entire universe.
No. Yeah.
Well, Slav is all about chaos, isn't he?
I don't know. No, I don't remember. It's been too long. It was an Infinity Stone that he picked up, exactly. We have a scene of Allura comforting Lance.
Yep. Also, we have nice. During the evacuation montage, we had Lance bringing Kaltenecker. That's very important to the whole saying goodbye to the castle.
Yes, so you see several scenes throughout the castle. We have them evacuating things like Kaltenecker and then Pidge's floaty things from that one episode forever ago.
Yeah, they disappeared pretty quick.
Yeah, but we've rescued Kaltenecker. She's in Lance's line, I guess. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And, we got a big send off to the Castle of Lions, which, emotionally probably is not warranted, given at least my emotional connection to that, which was almost non-existent. Mm-hmm. But, whatever.
I'm happy it's gone because it was kind of like a big plot convenience a lot of the time. Like they could just fix every problem with the Castle of Lions coming on down.
Also, often in these space fights, it would just pop up like, hey, like Coran, hey guys, I'm here to help.
Yeah, like now they can't rely on that, which is going to be interesting.
Well, at least for a couple episodes.
Yeah, we'll see how long that lasts.
Yeah, I'm very happy to not have to fix the teledove again. I'm done with that.
Yeah, that was getting old.
Yeah.
So we have to fix the teledove!
It's dead. We killed it.
Gone.
We killed the teledove.
No, we just need to hit it with the translucent refracto beam.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that was a real term from the show, so that's
We'll get some of that root beer.
The teledove saved us all.
Then we apply the Slyconian Draco meteor cannons on the inside.
Draco and Malfoy. Boom. Yeah. Exactly. So no more of that. But back to the Allurance hashtag. So we didn't get a big romantic ending with Lance and Allura, but we did get like one moment of Lance being sad at Shiro, the Castle of Lions. I don't remember what he was sad at. And
he was sad that he didn't notice Shiro screaming to him in that.
Oh yeah, that was his fault. Yeah. You should be sad, Lance. You were very stupid.
Like he broke down in tears, man. That was sad.
I mean, at least we showed some acknowledgement that he could have fixed all this earlier.
To be fair, weird space stuff happens quite frequently in this show.
Yeah, it's true. What do you filter out? A lot of it
is just like. That's resolved by the end of the episode.
Yeah, Lance thought that was a one episode thing, not a full season arc. So
also, to be fair, Lance is the only one who even noticed. Nobody else in the Voltron noticed Shiro screaming.
Yeah, so true.
Lance has a leg
Lance
up.
Went to Shiro.
Yeah, well,
it's just the wrong Shiro.
Yeah, Well, he is the wrong Shiro. Yeah, Lance upset and Allura. So what do we think of Allurance after this, Allura and Lance romantic pairing after this season? Glad they didn't go full canon here right after Allura is grieving, Latour betraying them, right? That wouldn't have been good. But, do we like them as a pairing? Hayley, where do you stand now?
I'm for it. I'll go for it. Like, I'm not passionate one way or another, but I definitely like how Lance is becoming a little bit more tolerable. Like, he kind of bugged me as a character at first, but now he's becoming nicer and kinder, and I really liked his reaction to thinking about how he could have helped Shiro. That was really pretty touching. And I'm really happy that they're going slow with it as well, because it wouldn't be as good if they just dove right in. It kind of feels more natural how they're doing it, and it isn't just like, look, they're together now. So I would not be crushed if they weren't together, but I'm also like, I'll support it if it happens. So
yeah,
it's not that much bearing on my life.
You basically said I could take it or leave it. Like,
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I'm
okay.
fine if it happens. Don't care much if it doesn't.
Yeah, that's probably as good as we're going to get with ships on the show.
It's honestly very sweet. It's very sweet.
Okay,
so.
That's good. Justin, are you Allurance in season 3?
I'm steering this ship. I am the captain. All aboard the ship. Toot toot. Here we go.
Is that sarcastic?
Nope. I'm on it. I'm driving. Let's go.
Since when are you a big Allurance supporter?
I don't know. Around episode 3, I think, of the season.
Okay. What draws you to them?
Because I think that the same thing that draws me to any, like, ooh, I'm prim and proper. Ooh, I'm rebellious. I need to learn to let loose. I need to learn discipline. And they play off each other very nicely. And it's adorable.
Okay, I feel like you're a bandwagon Allurance supporter right now.
Okay, look, to be fair, I was on board starting with that whole raid around Lance's speech when I knew that Lance was genuine. That, to me, was what changed it from just, oh, Lance is like a guy. He must find girl attractive, to, okay, he legitimately cares about her.
Yeah, episode 2 this
that
season,
was when I started shipping.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, that was a very touching moment from Lance. He's like, I'm just a boy from Cuba. Yeah, that whole speech. Yeah, Alex, are you on board?
Yeah, I'm mostly going to echo what Hayley said. I think that Lance has been more mature over the past couple of seasons, actually. And so because of that, it's more tolerable than it would have been in season 1, where Lance was very flirty. But now he's kind of stopped doing that, and he's whenever he talks to Allura, it's usually in a more serious tone. So I appreciate that, and I also think that the show is going at the right rhythm. Could I do without the episodes focused on their relationship, like episode 3, where we're seeing Lance mope around? I would prefer we do without those episodes, and we stick to just like the one scene every so often of Lance and Allura talking to each other about serious things to note that they have that bond. Like, that's good enough. But yeah, I'm fine with a Lance and Allura together, and I think that we are going at just about the right rhythm where we're not forcing it just yet.
Yeah, at least we're not jumping right in. It wouldn't have been emotionally appropriate. But now that this is like the thing that the show is doing, I'm hopping off, because I was kind of supporting this before, but only because it was the tolerable alternative to horrible ships like Latour and Allura and Keith and Shiro and Allura. But now that those don't seem realistic, I don't want this either. I was like,
look at Mr. I only do non-canon ships.
I only do Clance, so that is the true goal here. But now this is like the expected straight Allura ship, and it's still not that great. It's like we're coming from a place of like, oh, Lance is the playboy who likes Allura, the hot girl in the group. Oh, but he's the reformed playboy, and now he actually has an emotional connection to her. Like, no, that's a horrible way to form a foundation for a relationship. I don't accept that.
Well, really, you don't accept people changing?
I mean, he can change. It's just a bad tropey start to this.
Well, what would you rather happen to Lance? Would you rather Lance stay terrible, continue flirtily pursuing Allura? Would you rather him become reformed and never have any romantic feelings for anyone? Or would you rather him simply die and jump off the ship?
Or introduce a new female. Make Lance go with that new Altean. How about that?
Yeah, that would be much better. Lance and Roel. Or option F, Lance realizes that the deepest emotional bond in the show he's had is to Keith, and that he's attracted to Keith. Yeah. So that's the real
all back. Okay.
Yep. But yeah, no. Look, Allurance is at least it's not as bad as some of these other ones are about to do. But boy,
the real question, Dylan, is of the new alien females on the show, which one do you ship Allura with?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, Roel, obviously.
Is it Roel or is it
See, Crowlia is more mature.
I feel like Crowlia is older, yeah.
She's older, but maybe that's what Allura wants in a relationship.
Okay.
Someone who's able to be mature.
Thousands of years old.
Oh, yeah, Allura is.
Right, Allura doesn't see age.
No, but she's not
thousands of years old.
Yeah. Okay.
And also a bonus that she's gotten over her Galdrin discrimination. So like now she can see Crowlia as like a true person, you know. She's come at just the right time in her development.
It's perfect. It has all the things that the Keith and Allura shippers want, like with that aspect, except not that terrible ship. This better one instead. So that's okay. I'm on board with that. Anyway, that was like a discussion we should have had 30 minutes from now because we haven't gotten into Shiro coming back to life. So let's talk about this.
Oh yeah, that.
Yeah. So Allura goes over to the Black Lion, like puts her hands on it, glows up, turns a different color, goes over to the Shiro. I don't know. Goes into the Shiro clone, puts her hands on the Shiro clone, transfers some diddly-do magic, and then there, Shiro's in the Shiro clone. We have Shiro back, except he doesn't have an arm.
Allura was a sponge. She squeezed the essence out of the lion, and then she ringed herself over Shiro's face.
I don't like that mental image.
Yeah. Hayley, what was your reaction to this happening?
I don't know. I'm conflicted because here's the thing. That moment and the whole scene, I really liked. I think it was really well done and very nice. And I'm also really happy Shira's hair is all one color because the little white tuft at the top always drove me nuts. So, I'm happy it's all the same color now. I always wanted to, just chop it off. But, no. So,
wow.
Good. I'm happy about that. Definitely on board for the all white hairdo. He's very on trend. But besides that, I think it was a good scene. The only thing that bugs me is, like you were saying earlier, Dylan, is if this is the end of all that Shiro drama and us theorizing oh, he's a clone and all this stuff for however many seasons and episodes, it's pretty unsatisfying. I don't get why they would have shown us how there were 50 different Shiro clones that Hagar had made if this is it. I feel like there's going to be more, or maybe more Shiro clones are going to come, or he's going to have trouble or something. I don't know. I hope this isn't it, because he's kind of a strange combination of things. He's the clone, but he's also himself, so how will that play out? I really hope they don't just make it oh, he's all good now, he just has white hair. Because that would be pretty unsatisfying. But if they actually do something more with it, then I think it'll be good. But then I thought the scene was nice as well. So, yeah. I think it depends on what comes after for me.
Yeah, presumably there will be some repercussions to Shiro randomly be inserting into a clone body, yeah.
Yeah.
At least maybe I'll have, headaches occasionally, something.
Maybe he'll have a connection with Hagar, but he can direct it. Maybe he can spy on her or something.
Ooh, yeah.
That could be interesting.
I'd like that, yeah, because he's in Hagar's created clone body, so there's could be something up. Maybe,
there's a connection, but he has consciousness and, some control over that, so maybe he could do something with that, especially if she becomes the main villain now.
Him and Onerva now have a Rey and Kylo Ren type force connection.
I would be so there for that. That'd be awesome.
And that's the new ship is Shiro and Onerva.
I think young Onerva, sure. Maybe not old.
What? Oh, come on, she's great.
She's looking pretty rough.
Oh, what are you, Latour in that scene?
Now we're basing on looks? Wow.
Yeah, you're Latour in that scene, you're it's almost over, Onerva, yeah.
You're an abomination.
Yeah.
Does Onerva see Shiro as eye candy?
Maybe.
I do.
She did make a lot
of speaking of Justin, So in honor of Father's Day, Justin, you several podcasts ago famously said that Keith's dad was a hot dad and you were feeling him. So Shiro has a new white hairdo, potentially making him look more mature, maybe a silver fox, if you will. So what are your takes on Shiro's new look?
My thoughts are someone binge watched all of Young Justice, thought that the Roy Harper thing was really edgy and nifty, copped all of it and cobbled it together very, very quickly. Like, ooh, cologne, ooh, angst, ooh, missing arm, and just threw it all together and out popped Shiro. And I think the whole thing was very rushed, and so we need to get something next season of, like, Shiro trying to reintegrate into the group, but I think the whole thing didn't work for me that well. I didn't like the payoff.
Okay, that's good analysis and all, but I was asking about your any attraction levels to new white Shiro.
Is he a hot dad?
No. I'm still here for hashtag hot dad. Like, no.
But I'm more on Shiro at the moment.
Is Shiro more or less attractive now that he has white hair?
Shiro to me is more attractive with white hair than hot dad.
He's more attractive now with white hair, but you can dress up a turd all you want. It's still a turd. And my shiny pile of man mountain that is Keith's dad.
Oh my goodness. Shiro fans are going to be attacking now. Can't just, he's a very handsome man, Justin.
Yeah.
Shiro can go jump back in space.
Wow. What's with Shiro hate?
He was more attractive when he was inside the Black Lion.
Okay, you just wanted him to stay there. Yeah.
Stay there.
Unsatisfied with the conclusion to this arc, Justin is, and that's coloring his view of Shiro's hair, like Shiro's hair was decolored. Yeah. Okay. That was a stretch.
Sure.
Yeah. Alex, what was your reaction to the seance?
I found
I love that it's a seance.
Yeah, I can't get over that description, but I think when it was juxtaposed with the awesome fight sequence, it kind of felt like a letdown. That the rest of that, like, it was like, okay, well, we're just kind of wrapping up here, the TikTok, but so the actual sequence didn't hit me as hard as I think it was trying to. But like, I'm okay with Shiro coming back. Like, at the end, he's a good enough character, so like, I'm fine keeping him around. Now, I do want the white hair to not just be an aesthetic thing. Like, I would like his resurrected self to be actually older in the process, or like physically affected by it. Like, he's no longer able to participate in physical combat or something along those lines. Maybe he's no longer able to pilot a lion. He is now forced to just be an advisor from the ship, as opposed to like jumping in and out whenever Keith feels like going away. So like, I would like some effect to come out of Shiro being resurrected, and that's going to color greatly my reaction to this particular moment of him coming back. So like, right now I'm working on the assumption that they will do something with Shiro in the next season, like explaining how he's going to come back to this whole dynamic. So for now, I'm fine. But like, if it ends up being that he's just exactly the same Shiro as he was in season 2, but just with white hair, then I'll downgrade this very, very strictly.
Yeah, it's mandatory that there are some consequences here next season, and it affects him at all. You'd think that they would go the route, like you said, that he can't pilot a lion anymore, because that would just disrupt the new line dynamics we have now with Keith back in the Black Lion, Allura piloting a lion. Like, Shiro's the odd man out here, so I think that probably he has to go back to the sidelines. Slightly
related, can we say how good chemistry Keith had with this Voltron, even though he's been gone for like 2 seasons?
He's a natural. He's a prodigy Black Lion pilot, yeah. He jumped right back in. It was very good. So yeah, Keith is hashtag my Black Lion, my Black Paladin. Yeah. So, not Shiro. Wow. So much Shiro hate here. I didn't mean it like that, but, yeah.
Well, look, like, Shiro was president and you leave the office. You're not allowed to just come back in later once you finish your 2
term limits here. Yeah. So Shiro has, that's why we enacted, Paladin term limits. So Shiro can't jump back in.
He can go to the Paladin Supreme Courts, just like judge fights between Keith and Lance. Like, okay, Lance is winner here. Like, that's his role on the show now. Just be like a fight decider, or a therapist for the Paladins.
Yeah, that's what the Supreme Court is judging Keith and Lance. Yep. We'll think of a better analogy for that. But, yeah, I was not a fan of the Shiro resurrection, as should be obvious, considering I've been very worried about that all of the podcasts this season. It just feels unsatisfying. It's going to a lot depend on what they do next season. It just makes you think, like, what was the point of killing him off at the end of season 2 and then doing this whole mystery thing and then bringing him back? I just don't know what the point really is. There's never big consequences in Voltron. No one ever dies. Nothing, like, we shifted up the lions, but, like, what's the worst thing that's ever happened here, honestly? Like, Zarkon died, Latour's trapped, those are the bad guys. What's the stakes? I don't feel the consequences here. So, that's something I'm looking for from next season.
I think this is partially affected by the decision long ago where Shiro supposedly died, and we were like, okay, well, let's give a full season without Shiro, right? Like that'll actually be interesting to watch. But they decided to bring Clone Shiro in very quickly. Like, they only gave us a couple of episodes without him. I think if we had left some time between Shiro disappearing and Clone Shiro coming back, then actual Shiro coming back might have had a little bit more effect. But really, we've been with Shiro, whether he be real or clone, for almost the entirety of the show. So that's kind of an issue there.
Right. Clone Shiro was enough like real Shiro that this doesn't feel like a major change. And it should be noted that I believe, Joaquin and Lauren have talked about how, like, they needed to bring Shiro back sooner because of toy sales than they anticipated. Like, that was, like, mandated, I think. I think that's been publicly talked about. So, there's a lot of factors going in here. And, but regardless, we've Shiro back. Yay. We do like Shiro. Hopefully he's white hair. Hopefully he does interesting things.
Will his hair actually do interesting things? Like, will we use him as a portal through his hair or something?
Yes, he's Lars now. Exactly. From Steven Universe. I'm going to be referencing a EW.com interview with Lauren and Joaquin, our co-creators, for a few points now throughout. And Lauren said about Shiro, we knew we wanted to keep our tired and true, stable and dependable Shiro out of the story for a decent amount of time to allow a lot of the other characters to grow. So maybe that's the point of Shiro being gone, is that it allowed Lance to have this character growth arc. It allowed Keith to take a leadership role. It allowed Allura to be a paladin. And I think all that's true.
Yeah, I buy that. I still think that his story is maybe getting kind of shuffled along. Like, it's not getting the middle and ending that it probably deserved. But I think if that was the goal, they definitely achieved it, in my opinion. Because I feel like those characters, like Keith, Allura, and Lance, are much stronger now than they were before Shiro disappeared. For sure.
Yeah. I think my take here would be that they could have done this independent of Shiro being gone.
Probably.
But I do think it's a convenient, in terms of, like, an opening within the Lions. I think that helps Allura get there. But, at least it is true that these characters improved a lot within the confines of the Shiro plot. So I don't know, maybe it was worth it in that regard.
Yeah, because
we did get good episodes. Oh, sorry.
No, I was going to say, last season you did get a couple of moments of, like, Lance starting to get angry at Shiro because of these weird decisions he was making. But so, like, you could say that those are, like, efforts to make Lance's character stronger using this not right Shiro. But, like, I still think that you could do a similar thing just with normal Shiro making a decision that the crew doesn't understand, and, like, he has his reason. Like, you can still do it without having clone Shiro around.
Yeah. I think it's possible, yeah. But, at the very least, we did improve a lot of characters here. I think ultimately the Shiro arc is going to be, like, the biggest notable things are going to be this mystery, which was fun to experience. Like, what's going on with Shiro? That was, like, the biggest talking point about Voltron for a year. And I think that was fun. I think they did the mystery very well. I think it satisfyingly paid off with the clone, even though it's what we expected. Like, it felt satisfying. And then I think the other thing is the resolution in episode 5 of this season, the incredible fight between Clone Shiro and Keith, and the clone facility, seeing all the clones and stuff like that. I thought that was also excellent. So, I do think it is kind of worth it for the experience of, like, what happened to Shiro and then the payoff. Even if we are going to resurrect Shiro, which feels cheap, but it's almost less important than, I think, episode 5 and the mystery. I think that who cares? Whatever. Shiro's back, fine. So that's good. Who cares? That's the best I can do with this. But and then at the end of the episode, we have to go back. We're going home because I guess Pidge's dad has the plans to build the Castle of Lions.
I didn't even realize that.
Yeah?
I forgot that was a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess they gave them the plans needed to build a weapon for the Galaxy Garrison to protect themselves. Is how I vaguely remember it going.
Did. Yeah.
Yeah. That it was only one line, and that logic feels stupid to me. But the point is, we're going to Earth next season. So, yay, we're going home. That's the end of the season. And in this EW interview, Joaquim says, I think just hearing the words "we're going home," that automatically says that things are going to be a bit more personal. So, meeting families, what do we think? That type of thing?
Earth gets blown up.
Earth gets blown up? Why? Why is that?
Blows up Earth.
That would be more personal,
What's
I guess.
More personal than seeing all of our home planet destroyed. We watch an alien planet blow up. Who cares, man? But Earth, no one messes with Earth.
Yeah.
On the other hand, every single space show ends up destroying Earth.
Final Space, yeah. This is, what do I care about Earth and the Voltron world? We haven't seen that since the beginning of the show.
That's why we're going back, though. Now we can actually care about it a little bit. We also got that line, I think it was last season, when they were talking about how they were all so sad because they were missing their families. That was a while ago, but
yeah.
No, actually, Lance in particular, they've been highlighting that frequently. Like, last season, he mentioned something like my brother and my sister and all that, and he broke down in tears. And then this season, he had that line about like I'm just a boy from Cuba. So it seems like, especially with Lance, we're focusing a little bit more on his past. So I definitely expect a Lance backstory episode at some point next season if we're going back to Earth.
That's going to be an interesting meet the parents. Like, here's my girlfriend. She's a thousands of year old alien princess.
Yeah. Also, here's my boyfriend Keith. He's half alien, but that's either one. Either one I think works. But that definitely gonna Lance family episode. That's gonna be fun. And we have Pidge's family going already. We'll interact with them on Earth. Although I think Matt's still in space, probably, even though we haven't seen him. Maybe Matt can come back too. And then Hunk. We don't know anything about Hunk, so
we need to meet Hunk's family. Like that.
Do we though?
Yes, because we need anything out of Hunk.
But what if they just do food jokes the entire time?
They for sure will do food jokes the entire time.
I want Hunk's parents to be like running a DVD fitness empire.
Why?
Because it's the exact opposite of what you expect. We all expect very large, rotund people. Son, you've slimmed down. Like
they own a bakery.
I want the opposite of that. Like exact opposite, and that's why Hunk left. Body acceptance. Boom.
Why can't they just be accountants or something? Like, just give them a normal job.
Are there accountants in Voltron era Earth? What are our jobs that we have in this? Are the countries still the same?
Cuba exists.
Well, yeah, I guess he's from Cuba. Does that mean Cuban heritage or literally from Cuba?
I'm a boy from Cuba.
Yeah, I guess so.
Boy being the noun. From Cuba.
Wow, thank you, Justin. What's up with the Garrison? Is that like a international space program? Are they like the rulers of the world, or are they just an academy? Like, what's up there?
I think it's like an army sort of thing, and like
are they the
school
UN's army?
It was a boot camp.
Yeah, so we'll get into that. Garrison politics coming up next season on Voltron.
Yay, space politics!
No. We'd had enough Galton politics, so now we get to have Earth politics.
Yay,
Also
Earth politics.
Earth meets aliens, finally.
No. This all sounds bad. Also in this interview, Lauren says, I just want to say the journey home itself is going to be a bit of a challenge because at the end of season 6, they're out on a castle ship, which they're out of the castle ship, which means they're out of wormholes. So it's not going to be a snap your fingers and we're home sort of situation. So that means we are going to spend several episodes journeying to Earth.
No, the diamond has a small teledove in it.
It's all a misdirect. Yeah, it's the diamond.
Well, they at least have to go pick up Matt. Like that's one episode in itself.
Yeah. It's
back to the mall, maybe.
Oh,
never know.
Thanks, mall.
They might do a mall sequel. Yeah. So we're gonna journey to Earth. That's gonna be fun. Okay. So that's what we have to look forward to. I'm gonna talk about Latour because we have some interesting quotes in that interview. Particularly this quote from Joaquim and Lauren. Joaquim says, we kept saying in the room, because we all come from Avatar, we're going to get him right to Zuko, and then we're going to pull it all away. And then Lauren says, and then he's going to go straight Azula. So they talked about how they're going to tease the redemption arc and then not go through with it, basically.
That is exactly what happened.
Yep.
That is very classic smarmy villain.
And then, so what I think the question with Latour is was this too quick of a turn for him? Because it happens within the span of this 7-episode season, and really it happens within the span of episode 4? That's it? One episode, and we ultimately get 3 or 4 episodes of him being evil, whereas we had 20 plus episodes of good Latour.
Well, that's not entirely fair, because at the beginning of season 3, Latour was very much the anti-hero. He was against Voltron, but he was kind of against everyone. And I think that we only truly had quote-unquote good Latour for a small handful of episodes. I think, and again, I blame Netflix for the way this was broken up into 4 separate chunks. It's hard to look back at the beginning of season 3 and look at all of this as Latour's big plan, but I think he knew this is kind of where we were ending up from the very beginning. And so I think
yeah.
The hints were there. I think we were personally too quick to accept good Latour because of the season break between 4 and 5, where we come back to 5 and we're like, oh yeah, Latour's good now. Whereas had it been a week difference, we would have still been like, I don't know about all this.
Yeah, to a certain extent, I also just think the show wanted you to buy into the redemption. That's what they're talking about here, and it's they spent a good portion of the season. And if you look at this as season 2 being episodes 27 to 52, it works a lot. You see the Latour arc, that's when he's introduced, and then it ends with him, turning. So I think it works pretty. It's a clear arc that he's been on, and I still think it's a valid question, even if you're right. He wasn't presented immediately sympathetically. It took some time to get there. Did it feel fast watching it? Did this feel like too quick of a turn? It's oh, he's gone off the deep end. That's okay. I guess we're doing that. Anyone have that reaction?
Kind of. I feel like in the moment, it felt kind of fast, but I also can't think of how they would do it differently, because if they just started to make him evil again, it might feel drawn out if they kept it going for episode upon episode. And it would feel more like, oh, we're just back to where he was at the beginning. But this really, it played really well on his whole, need for power and quintessence and building this, anti-Voltron and everything. And showing how he really just, loses it because he's so obsessed. So I think it felt fast because I like Latour as a character, and it sucks that he was so conniving and interesting, and then he just went lost it at the end. But it also kind of makes sense with his storyline, and I think they also cut it off. They didn't drag it out for a really long period of time, which I think if they did that, it would have been less impactful than just having him snap and then having this happen.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, the one thing I think it feels a little fast in all good things, I think, is where he finally loses his cool, but they're still in space. Later on, we explained that, being in the quintessence field is kind of what amps up the going insane part. So I think if that dialogue of the whole I'm gonna be the new Altean defender and destroy all the Galra and stuff like that, if that happens inside the quintessence field, it's more explainable. But because up to that point he'd only been in the quintessence field about once with Allura to collect those samples, it doesn't feel right that he goes insane there as opposed to once they finally go into the field. I think that's the only thing that makes it feel a little fast, that all good things episode there.
I can see that.
I have 2 big problems with what happened with Latour this season. One of them is basically what Alex is saying. I buy that Latour had hidden mischievous motivations, that he was secretly a bad person all along, the flashback in episode 4. I thought that was well done. I think that makes a lot of sense with what we've seen from his character. I buy that there was bad things going on behind the scenes. The problem with him becoming this villain so quickly is in his demeanor. He comes across so crazy maniacal evil. so quickly for seemingly no reason. Even if he was in the quintessence field, I still think it would have been the same thing because, I don't care that he's been infected with quintessence. Like, I get that that's a theme in this show. I get that it's a parallel to his father. It's just unsatisfying given that we saw calculated, logical, Latour for so long. And, just seeing him go crazy so fast, I think was jarring and potentially not well done, although I'm not sure. They need some time to think about it.
Yeah, I guess you'd think like Latour being this very calculating villain, like he would have learned a little bit from Zarkon's mistake. Like he would go back and look, well, Zarkon went insane when he got infected by the quintessence. So how do I avoid doing that when I go in? But as far as I can tell, we never really touch on Latour considering that notion, like because of his obsession. And like, if you want to leave it at that, fine, but it doesn't come off as well because you're trying to position Latour as like a more calculating villain than Zarkon. But in the end, that it doesn't follow all the way through to his work. Like it just ends up being the same thing as Zarkon.
Yeah, which has thematic resonance. Like it's power corrupting, greed in terms of the quintessence corrupting, and also like he's prone to the sins of his father. I get all that. It still just doesn't feel satisfying given how incredible characterization we saw from this character. Here's the second thing that I don't think is that well done. Here's a quote from Joaquin in the W interview. I think the angle, though, is that there's a genuine element of truth to everything he says. He wants things to work out. He's not just a power-hungry crazy dude who wants to destroy the universe. He snaps, obviously. His methods were skewed, but his intentions were true. And I think for the most part that they executed that very well. I think several podcasts this season, we've been saying like, we buy it. We buy that he was actually like Delura. We buy that he thinks of himself as an Altean savior. He did say that he saved the Alteans when they were going to be destroyed before. That's kind of true. So like they did a good job with all of his dialogue, being technically true. I think the problem is that he's a mass murderer. Like, I think that's the issue I had. Like, it's hard to sympathize with him at all after we reveal that he's basically committing genocide, in the flashback. Like, I don't think that the perception we're supposed to have of Latour, which is that we're supposed to just still see him as somewhat sympathetic, still understand where he's coming from. Like, that's lost when we hear that he's killed thousands of people. That's all gone. I'm upset that this character that I really liked and I like sympathizing with, even though, yeah, he's kind of evil and immoral. It's fun to root for him. It's fun to try to understand where his character's coming from. No, he's this horrible mass murderer. I think there's a huge disconnect there. I think we shouldn't have gone that far with his actions.
Mm-hmm. Well, isn't that covered in the part of the quote that his methods were skewed? Like, there's a difference between intentions and actions, and like you can agree with one side of it and disagree with how the intentions are manifested. So like,
right. I think if it was like he committed ethics violations, like that would be one thing. That would be skewed, but his methods weren't skewed. They were murderous. I think that's not necessarily what they were intending with this quote. I feel like my reaction to that is not in line with this.
I mean, I just see it as like a villain thing. Like, if you want to try justifying it and like ignore the genocide, which is a terrible thing to do, but like somebody is able to do that. But at the same time, like at the end of the day, he's a villain. He did bad things, and he was introduced that way, and he leaves the show that way. So like at the end, it's like he's a villain. So that's just how villains work. They do things the wrong way, and that's why they're bad.
Yeah, I wish Latour wasn't just a villain at the end of the day. I wish he was truly like an amoral character that just whether he was just corrupted at the end or he just ultimately just was too far on the bad side, but still ultimately in the middle. But I don't think that's where we ended up with him. I don't know. Justin, any closing takes on Latour?
Well, I mean, obviously he's a villain, but I think I, for one, am actually really glad of how they did the Latour arc. I mentioned in the last podcast I was on about the original version of the show and how Latour's this crazy, obsessive stalk who at first was like angry he was Altean and then became obsessed with it and like tracked down Allura, tried to force her into marriage, and they kept the essence of his character of being obsessed with Altea. And they morphed it into something, I think, darker, but I also think more sophisticated because, yes, he murdered, but it wasn't like, I'm murdering you because either A, I enjoy it, or B, I don't like you. It was, I'm murdering you for, like, scientific experimentation, which is more, I'm not going to say it's good, but I'm saying it's a more complex story than, I don't like you, blah, I kill you, world domination, which is what the original show was like. So I think they made a more sophisticated take on it, but I think ultimately this Latour ended up just as insane as the original, and I think maybe that's the point, is yes, he was more suave, yes, he was more cunning, but ultimately he was still a terrible person.
Yeah, it's possible they were going for a lot of comparisons to the original series. And I think you're definitely right that the intentions provided were really well done. And it's clear that he was coming from a place that he thought was justified or good. Yeah. I mean, I think that for the most part, that's going to hold up. I don't know if I'm going to remember the angle that I'm saying it from. I think for the most part, we're going to remember the dialogue and remember thinking, oh yeah, I can kind of see that. So I still think Latour ends up being a great character. And, I'm not going to expect the season 3 villain, whoever they are, probably Onerva, to like top, what we got from Latour this season. That was definitely a high from the show.
Also, it should be noted that, like, Latour, we were impressed with him in comparison to Zarkon, who is exactly what Justin is describing, because I want to dominate the universe, all that. So because he was juxtaposed with that, Latour comes off looking as an excellent villain in comparison.
Yeah, true. Maybe Onerva will still shine, even though she's getting compared to Latour or whoever we're getting. Speaking of that, Lauren also says, we're done with our Zarkon, we've done our Zarkon arc, we've done our Latour arc, and now we're going to have a new thing to face. It's going to have a new energy in the same way Latour had a different energy from Zarkon. Which I want to highlight this quote because I think it shows that Latour is not the villain of next season, which potentially obvious, but he still could be alive. It's just, just eliminate the possibility that he is our main villainous force. And I think Onerva clearly the favorite to be our next villain, but we will see. Sendak? Anyone?
Please not Sendak.
Sendak? Yeah. Yes. Mouse guy. Slav? Oh, please. Yes, please. Oh, I love it. Okay, let's close by very, very briefly looking at the season as a whole. I think season 6 was excellent. I think it's obviously not a real season, but it's the best chunk of episodes we've gotten probably. And if you take it if you just look at this as episodes 27 to 52, again, I know I believe that's how that's written as a season. I think that's just like really great season of television. Like that is seasons 3, 4, 5, and 6 all together. There's a ton of great episodes from them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really, really good.
Yeah. I still don't think this is like, there's still complaints like we wish this show was like more fun or we're attached to the characters more and stuff like that. But all things considered, I think it's been very excellent recently.
And I think that these last couple of episodes have been more fun. Like, I think like the Monsters and Mana episode does a better job at filler episodes than previous seasons, I think. Razor's Edge does some very visually interesting things. Black Paladins and this finale have great fight sequences. So like, all in all, I think that this batch has been more fun compared to previous Voltron seasons, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think seeing the giant monsters fighting in this finale was fun, and I think the Monsters and Men in particular was more well done. It's still not a show where I particularly care about any of the main characters, which is a problem. But it's been a lot better. I have a very hot take here. I don't know if you're prepared for this, Alex. Voltron Legendary Defender is the best animated show of 2018 so far.
Okay, just to catch me up, did season 5 also air this year?
Yes, season 5 and 6 have aired 13 episodes, and I believe that season 5 was excellent. I really loved Blood Duel Postmortem and Kralzera, and we had Black Paladins, which is one of the best animated episodes of the year so far. Defenders of All Universes, All Good Things, Razor's Edges. These are all great episodes. I think that Steven Universe is also up there.
Yes, I was going to counter with Steven Universe, but I think the difference is if you want to contend that Voltron has been more of a consistently quality show, then yes, I agree. I think Steven Universe has had higher highs this year so far, but it's also had some down episodes. So like, if you want to argue on consistency, I can sort of see getting on that train. Obviously, we're just halfway through the year. But yeah, like Voltron has been very consistent with season 5 and 6 because I don't think there's a bad episode in that batch.
Yeah, exactly. Steven Universe has had, 2 or 3 great episodes. I think Voltron has had a lot of them. And, I think that's like, those are the two that jump out at you. I mean, Star had a little bit underwhelming of a year so far. Basically every other show we cover.
Yeah, Final Space.
Final Space, Mysticons. They're all in this tier below, right? I think this, Voltron Steven Universe tier, so far.
I'd counter that's the view you're taking is very much as far as the more serialized shows, whereas I think Craig of the Creek may be on that same level, but it's just a very different piece of animation.
Yeah, it's hard to compare. I think Craig of the Creek is excellent. I think Craig has at least 2, 3, 4, which are on this level that we're talking about. I don't think it's as many as like Voltron's had, but it is hard to compare.
But I'd also argue that because that's the thing is the shows that we don't cover, I'll be completely honest, Teen Titans Go, I think, had one of my favorite episodes of animation of the year. No.
Wow. You need to cover that for our site, Justin. We never cover Teen Titans Go.
I know how bad that is to say. I'm considering making a top 10 Teen Titans Go episode list because...
I'm sure there's a good episode out there.
Because they know that everyone hates them. So this season, in the last couple of years, they can do whatever they want. And they have made some of the best biting satire of animation as a whole, of superheroes as a whole. Gumball obviously does meta better than anyone. Yeah. And it's so difficult, I think, to compare these more dramatic serialized shows like Star, Steven, and Voltron. Even DuckTales is getting up there compared to something that's purely 11 minutes of humor / satire.
Yeah. Obviously, very difficult to compare. I'd love for you to write about Teen Titans Go for us. We don't have that perspective on the site. But yes, please. And, it's hard to compare, but if we're going to try, I feel like I honestly would say Voltron out of the shows we cover.
I'm limiting to that.
Mm-hmm. Out of the, and I think it's we have an end of the year best animated show of the year. I think Voltron is the favorite right now in the clubhouse, at least. It's a leader in the clubhouse of the shows. Clearly we're going to get some great stuff from Steven. BoJack is going to be a favorite whenever it airs to surpass these. But last year, Voltron got nominated for end of the year, but it wasn't a serious contender to win. I think the show is better now, and I think that it's been great this year. I'm very high on it right now.
Although I also wonder, with months of separation, are we going to think of this show as a whole as good or as certain episodes as great?
Yeah, I mean, it's also hard because we got the second half of season 2 or whatever in 2018, and then we'll get the first half of season 3. So how's that all going to play together? And how many episodes is Netflix going to air remaining this year? We're expecting 13 more episodes in 2018 of the remaining 26, but we'll see. They could hold off more. I don't know. We'll see. But, just saying, I've been at times very down on Voltron in the past, and, it's been a lot better. So hoping for good things from season 3. Any closing thoughts on season 2, Hayley?
I'm really happy with it. I feel like it's really hit its stride in terms of kind of character arcs and representations and, in terms of the storyline that they're aiming for as well, because we're getting away from the first couple seasons where it was pretty basic storylines and just let's fight and battle. We're getting really deep and dark storylines, which I'm loving. And I feel like the characters are very interesting and they're starting to become more fleshed out and real to me as a viewer, which is really, really good. And yeah, and just I'm really impressed with it right now. And having episodes like Monsters and Mana, which was so ridiculous, but so well done as well, which was great. And then Black Paladin stands out to me as just an absolutely phenomenal episode, in technically and emotionally and writing wise and everything else. So, I would definitely agree with you, Dylan. I think it's right up there with the top shows because it's just so consistently strong and feels like it's got a good pace to it, it feels like we're going somewhere with the story, which is really exciting, especially as they're improving the characters even more so. And kind of, although there are times where we're still quite confused about the the mechanics of this world, but it's exciting what is happening and how things are starting to come together. And it's not just our heroes against the big bad. It's more diverse, and we're getting neat villains. Like, I assume Unnerva will be the new villain, I would assume. So I'm excited to see how that goes, especially if Shiro is somehow like connected to her or something. So yeah, no, I'm really happy about the last string of episodes with the last couple seasons, or I guess one season or whatever. But yeah, no, really happy with it.
Nice. Thumbs up. Yeah, a lot of exciting prospects for the upcoming seasons. Good stuff. Justin, final closing thoughts here on season 2. Or, season 6, season 2.
It was really, really good. I definitely agree. This might end up winning our year-end Best Animated Series. Like, this has been phenomenal. Like, I just saw season 5 this week, so I got to watch all of this for the first time within, like, a week. And it's been amazing. Like, it's been genuinely amazing.
Yeah, wow. Okay, Justin's on board. He's on board. You got the Justin endorsement. That's key in the race. Alex, closing thoughts.
Okay, so my season 6 stock watch. We sold high, Latour. I think he ended really well, down to the end, and I think he had a solid arc all the way through. We sold low on Clone Shiro. I think in the end his storyline doesn't pay off as much as you would have expected going in, so not a great return on that investment. Stock up. Karan, he was really good this season. Like, his role as the lore master was really great. Also, Crowlia has her stock way up. I think that she has a chance to become a part of the cast for at least a part of next season. I really hope so. And her interactions with Keith were great in Razor's Edge. And finally, stock down, Hunk. Like, he had a great first episode, but from there on, he didn't really get much to do. And Altean Heritage. Like, now it's not special anymore, now that we know there's another Altea going on. So stock way down on Altea. That's my final thoughts.
Yeah, Altea. We've thought of Alteans in play next season. Romel, up or down, Alex?
Well, she's a new stock, so like she just got opened on the exchange. I think I'd buy on her, but like be careful, because really there's a good chance that she's not going to go higher than the value she is at right now. Considering she appeared in one episode, and for the rest of the time she was there, she was just a background character. Like, they made a point to put the camera on her, but she didn't speak for the rest of the season, so I'm not sure what the point of that was.
She gets scared by the lions roaring in this episode. That's the most she did.
Yeah. That was her entire dialogue.
Will she be going to Earth with them? Will Crowlia be going to Earth with them?
I think so.
Crowlia has to have this sad scene at the cabin where she's going through
at the grave.
Yeah, that's grave. Yeah. They have to have a moment there.
Thank you for just calling him Hot Dad. Like, I really.
Well, he doesn't have a name, so
he's Hot Dad now. Yep.
Thank you for letting me make the official name.
Oh, yeah, Hot Dad stock opened high. Well, I don't think it's going to go higher than it is, but like it was a very strong investment if you open for that one episode.
Rip Hot Dad.
Hey, I actually tweeted the executives, so hashtag Hot Dad is in motion.
But see, the problem is everybody's going to use that for Shiro. Like, that's already been a hashtag for him.
Yeah, I think so. I think Shiro, that's already.
You need to differentiate a little bit, like Hot Southern Dad, Hot Southern Voltron Dad.
That's a little too long for the hashtag, bud.
No, he's already Shiro's already a hot Voltron Dad.
Okay.
Yeah, but not Hot Southern Voltron Dad.
Yeah.
Hot white hair.
Yeah. Justin tweeted at Joaquim and said, "We need to see more of Keith's dad in the comics. Please give us more hashtag Hot Dad." Yep, he did that.
Okay, he gave context at least.
Yeah, that was better than it came across as his retelling of the tweet. Okay.
Hot Dad.
Yeah, Hot Dad. Okay. Yep, been great season. Good coverage we've gotten. We got a lot of things right. We had some good analysis here. And very much looking forward to season 7. Will it be 13 episodes? Will it be 6 episodes? Will it be 7 episodes? We'll see.
1 episode. Call it now. 1 episode.
Will it be 26 episodes? A miracle.
That would be great if they released the whole thing. But yeah, when will it come out? Will it come out in August, September, October? We'll see.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow, surprise drop. Yep, happening. So, yes, thank you all for listening to our coverage this season. Thanks to all our co-hosts who have been on this. It's been another great season of Voltron that we've powered out podcasts for. Thanks to the Shakeups for letting us use their music as our intro and outro. That's been very fun to have and differentiates these Voltron podcasts as well. Let us know what you thought of all of our coverage this season. Overlyanimated.com. Click on the article. Talk there. On YouTube, leave comments. If you're still listening at this point, you're probably a good contender to join our Discord at overlyanimated.com/Discord, and also become a patron at patreon.com/overlyanimated. Thank you very much to all of our current patrons, especially our patron of the podcast, Michael, aka Wazowski, and thanks as always to our patron executive producers, John, Ryan, Steve, Alex, Andy, and Hugh. If you're hour 15 in, come on, talk with us on Discord. Let's get all the Voltron discussion in there. And but here's more of Crazy Words Mustache by the Shakeups. Check out their new album, Legendary Defenders, and theshakeups.net for more. My favorite song of the album. Used it for the last one. I love the mustache puns in the song. And that's it. Thanks for listening, guys, to all of our Voltron coverage, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Adios.
Bye.